my own version of R&B, which is very like live instrumentation and very expressive and focused in the way that the music follows the lyrics and vice versa. You know, it's not a beat that I've written on top of. It's like it's a
Mhm.
very curated experience, and we've focused really hard on moments. And it's the first time in music that I've really believed what I'm saying. Like it was classic, like bad breakup, hit emotional rock bottom type thing, and then and now I've got a fucking album to talk about it.
If we gonna contact, I don't take no pleasure. And the rest is up to destiny and your discretion. You're watching Loud Music Only. I'm your host, A.T Bianco, and today our guest is a talented musician out of Australia. I came across his music around 6 months ago, and I was instantly drawn to the soul in his voice and the power of his lyrics. He's fresh off the release of his latest single, Lil Obsession, and I can't get enough of it. He's entering the new era of his music career. He goes by the name of Boy Soda. Thanks for joining the show, man. I appreciate it.
What's going on, man? Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. Now, what do you been up to today? I know it's late here in the States, but it's around what 10 a.m. over there. How are you feeling? What's the energy that you're experiencing so far today?
It's 9 a.m. My day is just beginning. I'm looking out the window. Beautiful start to the day. It's looking very promising. I think it's going to be a fruitful day.
I actually rarely get to start a day with an artist. Usually I get
Mm.
artists at the end of their day. So is there anything that you'd like to kind of manifest for your day, to, send out some positivity for you, maybe some creative energy, get it flowing?
I'm going to manifest some productivity today. I feel like there's a few things I need to get done, some loose ends I need to tie in a knot. I'm going to manifest maybe a nice sandwich at some point with lots of sauce on it. And maybe a nice joint for the end of the day. That's that's the things that I want dotted throughout my day.
That sounds like probably the best day ever. I want to hop on a
Big
plane and
day.
go join you with that.
Oh, brother, you're welcome anytime. You're welcome
I've always been
anytime.
very, very interested in Australia, and then someday I'll make my way over there. I'd love to learn the origin story of any artist that I speak to. So briefly, tell me about your upbringing in Australia, and maybe before you started making music, what did you love doing as a kid?
Great question. I was originally born Central Coast in New South Wales in Australia, so kind of rural around more beaches. So the beginning of my life was very was spent in an area that was very kind of relaxed and a slower pace of life and very different to where I am now in the city where it's very urgent and everyone's trying to get from point A to point B. So I had a bit of a relaxed kind of introduction to the world and had a lot of time to fall in love with music and I would always sing and ask my parents for like djembes or drums for birthday presents or like little karaoke machines and stuff. So it's always just been something I've been very drawn to, the idea of creating music or the idea of being an entertainer at the same time. And I think it's just been this very natural trajectory of wanting to explore that or seeing people doing these things and being like, I want to be responsible for the way that that just made me feel, inspired or wanting to be on the stage or wanting to be responsible for um, being such a good articulator of emotions. I think it's just, always something that I've really, really wanted to do, and it's led me here quite naturally. But my parents ran a karate studios when I was younger. So I was kind of in that world before I eventually landed in music, but there's such amazing kind of morals that are taught in martial arts as well that I think really informed the person that I am and the way I talk about life in my music now as well, with some diplomacy and some um kind of humble reservations about things. So it's all influenced everything along the way. But yeah, Central Coast originally, karate, and then now music.
What about martial arts? You mentioned how it kind of maybe shaped you in a sense. Is there something specific, like a specific lesson or discipline from martial arts that you carry over to your work ethic and music?
I think it was just emotional regulation. Before kind of understanding what that really meant, in those the way that my dad would teach karate would be around the kind of values of non-violence and right conduct and all these things. And you're learning how to become this weapon, but the whole point of doing it is you're learning what you have to do to kind of never end up in a physical altercation. It's more about respecting people and knowing that you have the ability to defend yourself, but also implementing all of these other steps before it even gets to that point. And I think that's a really important thing that I carry with me now, as a 26-year-old man. It's, I don't want to be a reactive person or someone that lashes out easily or someone who could be baited into a reaction or anything. No one ever will control the way that I react with their own words. I'll never be a puppet in that sense. And I think that's a great thing to have in terms of control and confidence and understanding that in yourself. And I think naturally that really bleeds into the music and the way I talk about things. Because R&B music as well, it's very easy to like let your ego arrive and be like, I'm this guy, I did all these things, I move like this, I'm the best, don't talk, and that's not how I want to approach this genre. I want to approach it with more of an emotional availability and self-awareness, and be able to talk about these things, but also, acknowledge my own strengths and faults in those songs at the same time. So yeah, I enjoy that how well rounded it's made my my observations in music.
I love that. And I'll tell you what, you talked about portraying your emotions in your music, listening to your music, it scratches that itch. You talked about how can I give, my fans and my listeners the same feeling that I got when I was listening to my favorite artists. And you do that very, very well. And I just
Thank
wanted to mention that the way you portray emotion, everything down to the grit in your voice, you could hear it.
you.
And that's what I really really love about your music. And I went back and I listened to some of your music. You've been dropping stuff since around 2018, 2019. I had to do my
Well,
homework a little bit.
thank
And
you.
I'm curious because you've sounded like you found your sound and you're developing it. I'm curious who your musical influences are in any genre of music that inspired you to create.
Oh man, you're right. It's been a journey to kind of get to this place where we've landed on this very concise but like version of like that as an artist, that's the dragon's tail you're chasing. I think for the first part of your career is these years of replication and emulation until you get to this something that feels like an original version of you, and that's definitely where I felt like we've landed with this music as well. And um yeah, kind of getting there was just this natural kind of progression of moving to Sydney and finding a lot of amazing live musicians and incredibly musical people. And I don't really play instruments. I'm super dedicated to singing and songwriting and play a little bit of keys and everything. But I have friends that are coming out of Conservatorium of Music and everything and are super jazz inclined as well. So having everyone around me that's really brought these kind of jazz inflections and which is so important in soul music as well, in my opinion, into my life is the reason that it's kind of developed into this own like my own version of R&B, which is very like live instrumentation and very expressive and focused in the way that the music follows the lyrics and vice versa. It's not a beat that I've written on top of. It's like it's a
Mhm.
very curated experience, and we've focused really hard on moments. And it's the first time in music that I've really believed what I'm saying. Like it was classic, like bad breakup, hit emotional rock bottom type thing, and then now I've got a fucking album to talk about it.
I love it. I love it. And we're going to get into talking about that. Now you're entering this new era of your music career with the release of Lil Obsession. I'm hearing it everywhere. I'm dancing to it almost every day. I'm singing it in the shower. I can't stop. So tell me about the meaning of Lil Obsession and what that was like bringing it all to life.
Man, I was no contact with with an ex-partner, and they just wouldn't stop. They wouldn't stop trying to message me, and they got really creative, talking to me through my bank account. That, there's no lies there. They sent me a message via bank transfer. I was getting messages on like shared notes app on my iPhone, and the whole time it was just really, really fucking uncomfortable for me because I just thought the double standard was crazy. It's like I kind of have to sit here and cop this because if I react, I'm gonna, invite other reactions that I don't want. But if that was me, I'd be the crazy ex that was showing red flags about this and that and being, too obsessive. So I was just really uncomfortable by how all of that was unfolding, and
Yeah.
um kind of felt powerless in the fact that I couldn't say anything. So I wrote a song about it.
Now, there's no logic to messing with crazy there, which
No,
is a difficult thing to maneuver.
but there's no
And
logic messing with an R&B singer too, because he will talk about you.
woo! All right, I hope whoever it is gets the memo after watching this one too.
I heard it for sure.
I love it. I love it. And I love the cover of Lil Obsession, and your aesthetic, your fashion, your outfit. And I just have to quickly ask, did you sleep in that outfit today? Did you just roll out of bed and you're wearing the hat and the shirt and the tie? Talk to me about your aesthetic and what inspires that and how you created the art surrounding Lil Obsession.
Man, I always saw the visuals for Lil Obsession being black and white, like not in I wanted it to be inspired by kind of like old black and white photos you'd see of your parents or your grandparents' parents, where it's this kind of soft monochrome, kind of sepia black and white, which feels very reminiscent and nostalgic versus a black and white that can be like quite moody and and heavy. So I really wanted that soft kind of grayscale vibe for Little Obsession and kind of all the music that's going to follow it. And then when we got there on the day, I was working with this with Sadie, who's just an amazing photographer, and I picked him specifically just because I love his taste, and I think taste is the most important thing when you're doing visuals. You can have the worst equipment, but if you have the best taste, then you can still make something amazing. So we were just kind of playing around with these different locations, and then when we kind of landed on this position that you see on the Little Obsession cover, it was just trying to be this like kind of Charlie Chaplin-esque kind of pose, um, kind of performancey, kind of I don't know, musical theater in a way. But I think that pose in particular just has its own kind of certainty about it for some reason. Like it's kind of weird, kind of an R&B thing to do, but I enjoyed it because it felt like a captivating, unusual thing to see, and it made sense for some reason. So, that kind of unfolded naturally as a result of picking the Avengers team, like I'm very big on relationships and um who I work with, and they always tend to be very good friends of mine, coincidentally, but they're also the best people for the job. And yeah, it's made the process of all of this very easy. And I'm in an era where I want to dress a bit different, a little bit more suit and tie in places, and kind of want to hold that uniform throughout the release of all of these songs as well. And that's inspired by Tyler the Creators and other people that have their uniforms where they move through the eras as that person or these easily identifiable objects. So and I think as someone who's delivering a creative idea, that's like a really cohesive thing to do, and makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear your inspirations behind that. I heard you mention Tyler the Creator, and just like the tone of your voice and the live instrumentation. I get a
Mm,
lot of like Anderson Paak inspiration, along with a little bit of like a little sprinkle of D'Angelo in there, maybe some
absolutely.
neo soul. So I'm very fascinated to hear all of that about you and talking about this new music that you've been cooking up. Word on the street is that you hit out deep in the Blue Mountains of Australia, and
Correct.
you built this world with all your new music. That's where you recorded Little Obsession. Maybe mention to me and talk about the world that you're building and what it's like kind of being in a hideout spot. to create a project of any sort? Talk about what you can talk about, but I'm interested to hear.
It's like it's the dream trip that you want to take as a musician. You like your phone's off for 2 weeks. All your favorite session musicians are coming through, and you've got this music that you just want to elevate into this new place and this original place that you don't know what it sounds like yet, but you're gonna have it by the end of this trip somehow. So it's this kind of trip of blind faith. But yeah, deep in the Blue Mountains, just surrounded by trees. And like, I live on a highway here where I am now, but you go there and the silence is almost too loud, because I enjoy sitting out there for, an hour and just letting my ears slowly slowly catch little things and get further and further and pick up more detail. And I think it's such a beautiful and spiritual place to go and make music for that reason. So, we were there for 2 weeks. We had live horns come through, and you can hear them on Lil Obsession. We had live drums come through. I think that's Lil Obsession too. Live bass, live guitar, live backing vocals. And I think people talk about the backing vocals on Lil Obsession a lot. And it's these three artists, A Girl, Jasmine Khan, and Charbel, who just, very close friends of mine, but over this side, R&B soul goats and amazing artists. So um, they came in and matched their vibratos and their intonations, and it really did justice to the song. But we found this sound, this boy soda sound that we're sitting on now, but it's very influenced by, you're right, like by the D'Angelos and people that make music off grid and super behind the beat. And that's just an ode to feeling over technicality, which we care about a lot. And people like Lucky Day and anything that's produced by D-Mile, it's anything that's very reminiscent of Motown or 70s or any of the Soulquarian era. Like we're influenced by the Badus and Music Soul Child, and they were influenced by it, so I'm happy to be a product of like the new wave that gets to, pick from the best of the best and then also offer my own inflections of that as well. That's the whole point, and that's the honor of this genre as well.
That's very fascinating to hear, and you occupy a particular niche. Being from Australia, you have fans in Europe, you have fans in the Americas, all over the place. I'm curious to ask, what's it like to be in your zone of making music, and it's not necessarily all for
Mm.
people particularly from Australia. You're introducing yourself to the world. So like, what if I'm the world, what would you like to say to the world?
Just come and feel things deeply with me and just come and just go through this journey with me of trying to articulate the human experience in all of its highs and lows. Because I think my job is to become the best possible articulator or translator of that from my experience. And all I can hope is that my journey with honesty and delivering that message will allow other people to see themselves in it. I think that's the only thing I can hope for is to be committed to like closeness and honesty with myself so that the art that comes out is as receivable as possible or relatable as possible.
I love
And that
that.
is, if you're on the other side of the world, just come on a journey. Just listen to some R&B music, smoke a joint, drink some wine, or do none of the above and just just feel everything with me. I'm here for you. I'll hold space.
I love that. And you let a lot of your music I listen to, especially Lil Obsession, you let it breathe. You give it a moment
Yeah,
to live
I
in the
love you,
moment.
man. I love you. You tapped in, man. You pay attention. We cared so much about letting the music breathe and having musical moments and wanting to bring that back because we were so sick of like these 2-minute songs that were made for like like churning it out and lacking expression. So yeah, we focused so hard on like having a good intro or Little Obsession. It's like has a 40-second musical outro and a sax solo, and now it's getting played on Australian radio, and that's the coolest thing ever. It's like we gave you guys that sax solo. We gave you this like like levitate into the air outro, and you don't even hear my voice on it for the rest of it. And
Mm.
I love that. And there's a lot of artists that give me permission to do that now, but it's really just a return to musicality and expression again after we've been tricked into making disposable or short music, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's nothing manufactured about anything about that song for that matter. But it
Yeah,
probably
thanks.
feels great to, hey, I got a saxophone solo out on radio. Like that doesn't happen. I put a 40-second intro that probably really hasn't done in popular music in years.
Yeah.
Every time, you got the TikTok mentality of as soon as the you press play, the lyrics have to start. But I love how you make it breathe, and that's the one thing I really noticed about your music, and I'm so excited for you and see what's ahead. And I have to ask now, as a music listener, you go to your Spotify, you scroll down, maybe you're like, oh, I want to know more about Boy Soda. All that said in your description is the name Soulstar. Does Soulstar mean anything to you from what you can tell me?
It does, and it'll all make sense in the future.
All
But
right.
it's kind of my version of like what North Star means, and I think everyone's. I saw someone post about it yesterday, and it really resonated with me. Actually, it's like all artists just need to understand that their North Star is inside them, and I think that's such a true thing to like if you're talking about intuition and trusting your intuition as an artist, like I've been on this big journey of kind of making all this music and having too many cooks in the kitchen or not having the strongest pillar in myself to be able to like to say it's this. But the reason that Lil Obsession happened and the reason that I've made all my favorite music is because I really went through this journey last year of like really trying to fucking trust myself and my ideas and that was really important for me to go through before the music came out. But yeah, like artists, if you're watching this, your North Star and the thing that can guide you and lead you is like it really is inside you because it can't come from anywhere else because it has to be this special niche thing that's like specific to you and comes from you only. And I think you're the only person that can one find it and two follow that thread once you find it. So um yeah, like it Soulstar definitely means a lot to me, but I'm not quite ready to reveal its secrets yet.
Well, thank you for filling me in on what it means to you, at least,
Mm.
and I'm excited for everyone to hear the new music that you've been cooking up. And I have a couple more questions before we wrap this one up. I'm curious, how do you come up with the name Boy Soda?
Man, I've had it for a few years now. I think I made it when I first started making music, like back in my hometown. And it wasn't nothing too deep to it, to be honest. I was just really obsessed with kind of late night neon signs, Tokyo aesthetic. I think I was looking at a lot of like rendered scenes on Pinterest and stuff, and it was just this old kind of American gas station, foggy 3 a.m. vibes, and then this like soda machine at the back that said soda in like blue neon sign or something. And I was like, wow, had my little list of names that I was trying throughout the week and like walking around and like, nah, it just doesn't feel natural. I'll try something else. And then I was soda for a year, but I was boy soda on Instagram. And then I just kind of naturally developed into boy soda.
I love that. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Yeah, I'm picturing like the outside of like a 7-Eleven with the
Yeah,
the green and orange neon look to it. So I'm
yeah.
excited that I was just been curious for a long time about the creation of that name. So we got to learn a little bit about you here today.
Mm,
And my last question, we began this conversation with manifesting something for your day, correct? I
yes.
want to know what you want to manifest, not only for your music career, but also your personal life within the
Mm.
next year or two.
I want to I want to manifest a continuation of momentum. I want to manifest longevity and sustainability for myself. I don't want to fucking burn out this year. I want a good balance of getting my work done and making enough music so that my soul's filled there and making sure I'm seeing my family and seeing my friends. It's so easy to like confuse music shit as actually being life shit. And it's like music's very important, but sometimes they're not real problems. Like I'm very privileged to make music and be in a position to make music, but like, I'm not gonna try and lose my mind over not hearing back from someone when my entire family's like not sick. That's it. I'm fine. I'm fucking fine. So all I want this year is sustainability and um to enjoy it, and I try not to think too far ahead about what I want or what I want it to look like. I just kind of trust that, I treat people nicely and work really hard and tell the truth in your music, and the rest should come. Um, so yeah, that's what I want for my year. I
I
don't know
love
what
that.
it's gonna look like, but I'll always be like, I'll always be happy that if this is the farthest I get with my music career, 12-year-old me would still lose their fucking minds. They'd still be like, ain't no way you like moved out. Ain't no way you signed to a label. Ain't no way you got two projects out right now. Like incredibly blessed, and forever grateful that I was born into a timeline, into a country where I have the freedom to make the music right now, because it's so special and feels like such an honor.
Good for you, man. And, mano y mano, I'm very happy for you. I don't really know you very well, but just exchanging energies with you in this conversation, I'm very happy for you. And I'm very stoked and excited to see where your
Thank you, man.
positive, down to earth attitude gets you, because that's going to just take you such a long way. And, you know, your listeners are really going to feel that. Through the music. So I really appreciate you being so sincere about, what you want to
I,
manifest.
I appreciate you, man. This has been such a lovely interview, and I feel like you did your research, but I just on an energy level for sure. You're just like, I feel like because we've had this now in like a year or 5 years or something, like one of us will be in each other's countries, and I'll be like, hey, B.
Sign me up, man. I would love to do that, and I love connecting with artists all over the world. And candidly, I'll speak. You're my first artist I've ever spoken to outside of the U.S. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Great, man. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, man.
Likewise.
Thank you. So, to everyone listening and watching at home, this has been our interview, our entertaining, fascinating conversation with Australia's very own Boy Soda, fresh off the release of Lil Obsession. You're watching Loud Music Only, and I'm your host, A.T Bianco. Thanks for watching.